In this episode, we're gonna spice up the bowl part. We're gonna add a lot of cool stuff, a lot of cool effects just to make it more alive. And this one is gonna be pretty cool to add effects to because heavens are pretty cool. So you guys remember these very cool things that we added at the beginning, these ones? So we're gonna copy them just like they are. We're gonna Control C them and we're gonna paste them right over here. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna yoink the 87 movement, which is currently on 88. So we can just spawn 88. We want to copy that one. And now if we add it in here, you guys will see that nothing's gonna happen because this one is firstly on spawn triggered and we don't want that, and we don't want to have a group ID on it as well. And what we want to do instead is we also want to move 87 to the top so that the baseline is a bit more on the top. This way it just feels right? Like that. Now you guys can see that you can't see anything because you still have to move this block a bit to the top. This is like the center. Oh, now you guys can see stuff. This is looking clean. So now if you do this, yeah. Now just adjust this value. So this is basically like the baseline of when it should start pulsing. And I kind of feel like, yeah, that's not bad. I'm actually going to adjust the area tint. So if you give the area tint an effect ID of 1 over here, we can actually edit the settings of that area tint using the edit area tint. And if we add it in here, we use the effect ID of 1, and then we add a bit of random length. So maybe plus minus 10. And we want to do this in a very smooth way. And this way you guys can see that the effect has kind of changed. It doesn't look that great. And because we want to have this as much lower, a bit lower, and maybe this one can also go like 11. Let's see how that's going to look. Doesn't look that great. Just change this slightly even more just to kind of make it, yeah, this one looks a lot cleaner. And now this is perfect. Now all you have to do is simply just, so this one is far to the top, so I kind of want to have the length a bit more so that you can see more of the stuff that is on top. So if we move this a bit more like that, just want to have like a perfect like a perfect thing before we start copying and pasting it. And now I think we can start copying and pasting it because we have edited it as much as we want. And we're gonna add this over there just on top of the blocks because it just feels good over here. And we're gonna do just like random placements, and now that should be pretty good. Now don't forget that you have to we're gonna loop this every 0.4 seconds. So this is like the guy, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna add into here 0.4 so that every 0.4 seconds this one gets added. We're actually gonna do 0.8 because 0.4 is every beat, but we want to do every second beat. So now if you move everything to the right, you guys are gonna see that the effect is gonna take place. But you guys can see that these guys we can't see them because we have to change the baseline again to just move it up a little bit slightly like that. This should work pretty good. And you guys can see these guys are scaling like insane, which is perfect. This is looking clean. This is looking, honestly, this part is looking really good. Even though we haven't like changed anything, it just looks so good. And what I want to do for the top, because the top kind of feels like it's too empty, I'm just going to make it feel like you are in a cloudy section. Like the whole part is going to be inside the cloud somehow. So I'm going to copy this cloud particle, and I'm simply just going to, add it in here, just copying and pasting it randomly over there. Just make sure you enable this one so you can see exactly what you're doing. And maybe in here we can get even closer to the blocks because it just makes it feel more cozy, right? And now if we do, what is it? This one is here, and like that should, yeah, this is pretty fine. Now we want to copy those particles, the kind of flashy ones. So like that perhaps. And now you guys can see that we have created a upper, cloudy section, which this part looks really nice. I kind of like the yellow. Okay, there's a problem. So you guys see we found a gameplay problem because this one should be on no touch. So make this block on no touch so that it has no hitbox, so that you can't land on it, right? That's what we want. And now we have, now what we want to do is we want to copy the settings from this one. We want to copy like the jump orb decorations, and we're actually just going to put it on top of these guys so that you can see that there's a jump orb over there. Just make sure you change the offset. It doesn't look weird. And we're going to do that the same over here and over there like that. So I kind of feel like this part has a lot of beats going on, but nothing really is happening with that beat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at, this is very risky to do, so be careful when you do it because it could ruin your gameplay if you don't know what the flipping heck you're doing. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna look at the camera zoom and see the value that we have entered for the camera zoom. So the last value we had is over here and it is at 0.8. So now what we want to do is we want to kind of scale we want to zoom out a bit and then in, out and in. So that just adds a bit more to this thing. And now we want to do maybe 0.76. And then we're going to do ease out. We're going to do this pretty quickly, like that, maybe 0.15, yeah, like that. And then we're going to move it back to 0.8 in a very smooth way, maybe 0.5 or 0. We're actually going to do 0.8, 0.67. Then we're going to give these guys 114 and make them spawn at multi-trigger. And now we can spawn 114 using this guy. And now you guys can see that the camera doesn't do anything for some reason. Okay, we have made an issue and I'm honestly not too sure what the issue is. I think the problem is that we need to make this one a bit faster, maybe like 0.1. And now, oh, wait, let me see what is going on. Okay, so we are actually moving the camera in here as I saw. There's a camera zoom in here. So it changes it to 1. So we are zooming in then. And the second thing we want to do is we want to actually add like an offset. So we don't want these guys on the same spot. Maybe something like that. And then this one should have spawn ordered. Make sure you have that on. And now, as you guys can see, the effect is kind of slowly coming to place, which is pretty nice. But I want to make this a bit like that so that it doesn't feel like it's too sudden. And it still is sudden. So just make these guys a bit like that. And now, okay, so the camera is a bit messed up because the way the start positions work with the camera is absolutely horrific. It's terrible. So you have to kind of add it over there because the zoom value is still applying for some weird reason. And then as you guys can see, if we start now, the effect is kind of gonna take place a bit more. But I kind of feel like it's still too sudden. So I'm going to do 0.26 maybe now because we want to have it like a very light one. You guys can see that exactly like that. So that it doesn't even feel like you are zooming out. And now if you reach here, you're actually going to zoom in. So we don't no longer want to have 0.8 and 0.76, but we want to align to the new values. So now what I want to do is I want to simply, we're gonna so this is 1.084, 0.83, and we're gonna copy and paste these ones, and we're gonna give them a new group ID of 115. And the default one is going to be 1.03, I don't know, 8. Doesn't really matter that much. And this one has to be maybe 0.98, like that, just a small difference. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy and paste this one and make it 115 so that we spawn this one as well. But what we're going to do is we're going to instantly stop it. So what we're going to do is we're going to give this one a new group ID of 116, and we want to do 116. We're going to pause it, not stop it. We're going to pause it. And now if we start, you guys are going to see that not quite. Okay, this is a bit of a problem because we want to spawn these guys a bit after. So the actual right way to do it is to simply give the spawn of this one, so 114. The old one, we're going to give it 116, and we want to stop it somehow. We want to stop it somewhere in here. If we stop 116, now as you guys can see, it's going to start pulsing like normally. And then as soon as we reach here, it's not going to stop because we actually need to add it onto these guys as well. So 116 has to be on the zoom over there as well, these guys. And this is getting a bit complicated, I know, but that's just because we want to go crazy with the camera. And unfortunately, as of right now, you can't zoom the camera in like +1 or +2. You actually just have to set the value to... Alright, so I actually fixed the issue. It took me quite a while, but so the problem was that we need to unlink the loop. So as you guys remember, we added this loop to basically move the line that determines how many of these pixels will be shown. And we unlinked that into, so we made 114 into a new loop. This one we made it over here, and it's exactly the same value, 0.8. This one spawns these guys, and this one is like that. And then we want to stop 117, which is everything that is in here. So these guys, these two are 117, and we just stop it over here. And then we can, we can do a spawn right after it of 115, and we want to do spawn ordered, of course, and we're going to loop that in, of course, 0.8. And now if we start, you guys are going to see that hopefully it should work. Let's see. If it doesn't work, then it's not that very cool. Boom, yeah, it's still pulsing. Awesome. This is working out incredibly well. Let's go. Make sure that these ones are on 114, so this is that spawns it, and we want to have these guys as 115, and this is what spawns it. Just make sure you don't have any messy stuff. And now if you start, you're gonna see that boom, 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 boom. Okay, so this is a bit unsmooth. So between the beats, we actually want to change this one really quick. So we want to change the zoom so that it doesn't feel like it's too weird. Doesn't feel like it's too weird like that. Yes, like that. Looks pretty nice. Okay, and now we of course want to stop 116 in here before we do the next one. So 116, actually was it 116? Yeah, 116, we want to stop it over there. And now what I also want to do is make this one, I'm going to select that one and make it a bit more time so that it just doesn't feel too sudden, so that it doesn't has much more smoother way like that. Yeah, I think this is looking pretty good. And yeah, then we zoom out, of course, and we start doing stuff. Let's go. This is looking pretty good. So now what I want to do is that now that we can actually land on blocks again, I want to pulse them like we did in the very first part. So 118, and we're also going to select these ones. So these ones are also 118, and we're going to add a pulse to the group of 118, and we're going to pulse it to something like, I don't know, choose something that fits pretty good. Okay, so I forgot the mic muted, but what I did was simply I added okay, let me just quickly remove this one. So I added a pulse on a touch trigger, and I added it over here, and we gave these guys a group ID of 118, and then I pulsed 118 to blue, basically exactly what we did in the first parts. And then over here, I did it for these guys. We gave the glow and those ones a group ID, and in here as well. And as you guys can see, now if you play it, ignore the movement like that, boom, boom, like you see, it's just pulsing, right? That's exactly what I did. But then what I had the idea for is this block kind of moving down when you land on it, because you are landing on the clouds. So it would make sense that the clouds are very fluffy, so you kind of go through them kind of. So what we're going to do for this one is we're actually going to use the remapping system, and it is a very important system. And the first thing I did was give this whole block a group ID of 125. So this whole block, including the glow, including the pillars, and including the shadow, and including the spike as well, and including these guys, because these guys should be a part of the block, right? And then I added a move trigger over here with the values of -4, ease out, and 0.22, and right after it I added another one with +4 and 0.75, and we're gonna spawn this using the spawn trigger, and we're gonna make it spawn 126, which is a group ID that I gave these two guys, and I also made them on spawn and multi-trigger. And now 126 we're gonna spawn with a spawn ordered, and as you guys can see now, if you start, every time you click on it, it's gonna kind of go down, which just looks so much cleaner than previously. So now what we want to do is the remapping system. So the remapping system basically allows you to use the same triggers, but assign new group or pass new group IDs to them. So I'm going to show you a quick example. So I'm going to give this whole platform a new group ID, and of course including the shadow, and this one's going to be 127. So we're just going to make sure to move this away so that we can see stuff. So all of this guy 127, the color of 23, want to select all of these guys 127, and the spike and the hitbox 127, and I believe now we have everything. So now we want to spawn the same thing, right? We want to spawn this one, which by default, if you do, it's gonna move this platform down again. As you guys remembered, this is like the group ID of 125, so we're basically just triggering this. Look at it. So we just focus on that platform. You guys can see, okay, you can't, okay, look at it. So just focus on that specific platform. You guys saw that when I landed here, that one went down, but to make it so that this one goes down, we can use the same 126, but instead of passing 1 to 5 to it, we're gonna pass 1 to 7, which is this platform over here. So to do that, it's very simple. You can go on here and then go to the next tab. And in here, you want to put the original ID, which is 125, and then the new ID. So 125 and 127. And then you click on this plus, and now it's going to trigger these guys, but instead of passing 125, it's going to pass 127, which is going to do the exact same thing, but it's going to do it for this platform instead of any other. So now, as you guys can see, it's going to, oh, you guys saw the issue. This one pulsed down as well, but that's not what we want. We want this one to go up. So what we're going to have to do is create two separate triggers. So this one's going to be here, and this one's going to be for the ones up top. And these ones are going to have a group ID of 1 to 8, and we're going to make it go up first. So it's going to go up first, and then it's going to start going down. And this is the one that we want to trigger. So 1 to 8 instead of 1 to 6. So 1 to 8 like that. And as you guys can see, now it's going to go down, and now this one's going to go up, which is perfect. And now we have the up and the down. So it's all down to copying and pasting, baby. All right. So now we want to add this one. First of all, just give this whole structure over here a new group ID of maybe 1.129, and this whole thing over here 129 as well. The color 23 should also be 129, and those ones, and including this one and the shadows as well. We can't forget the shadows. The shadow should be 129. And is there anything else? I believe we forgot the pillars, right? 129. And I believe we also forgot them over there. Yeah, so these ones were 127, I think. Yeah, 127. And now you guys will see that boom, up, and then that one goes up as well. So now this one, we gave it the group ID of 129. So what we're going to do is, instead of 1 to 7, we're going to do 1 to 9. So instead of 1 to 5, we want to do 1 to 9. And we're going to get rid of the old one by selecting it and clicking on this thing. So now it's going to go through this one, but instead of 1 to 5, it's actually going to give it 1 to 9, which is for that platform. It is much easier to use it like that instead of, yeah. Okay, we actually spawned the wrong one. We should spawn this one, which is 1 to 6 instead of 1 to 8, like that, 1 to 6. Make sure you spawn the one that makes the platform go down instead of up. And as you guys saw, looks clean as flipping heck. We're gonna add one more over there, and now it's all down to, you know, selecting these guys, giving them a new group ID, and yeah, working it out from there. So we're selecting the shadow right now, and I don't want to select too much to the top because we're not even going to be able to see the stuff that's on the top. So those ones, including the spike, go to 130, and we're going to go 2-3. We're going to give these guys a new group ID of 130, and I believe this is it. So we can select this one, copy and paste it, put it over there, and 130 is going to be the new one instead of 125. So now this should be working pretty good. So now, yeah, we're just going to do it 3 more times for the platform that is over here on the top and for the 2 structures that are below. Just make sure you actually select everything that you need, because you guys saw last time I forgot to select the pillar, which would have been, I couldn't really see it in the game, but other people would have saw it and be like, hey, that's buggy, and that would not have been that very cool. So just make sure you select basically everything, including the hitbox. Don't forget about the hitbox as well, even though it's invisible. We don't want you to be like floating on some random air, right? So now 131 and delete, and this one goes over here to 131. And actually, no, wait, mistake. So we want to spawn 1 to 8, but we want to pass 131 instead of 125, exactly like that. So nice. Okay, so I'm doing this multiple times so that, because I need to, and second of all, you guys can also see that's how this works. So that in case you made a mistake, you can just watch the repetitions that we're doing, so that, yeah, just repeat yourself so that you never make a mistake. Just keep doing it until you are perfect at it. So 132, and then we want to select 2-3. I'm going to give these guys 132 as well. So those ones also 132, and the glow, including this one, including the shadow, which is all of this. And we're going to do the pillars. We can't forget about the pillars. 1, 3, 2 as well. And I'm actually straight up just going to give this one a new group ID as well, so that I can just finish giving group IDs. And then I can move on to the next thing, which is going to be, this one's 1, 1, 1, 1, 3, 3. So you have to remember these guys. If you don't, you can just select the object and see what group ID you assigned it for. So 1, 3, 3, and then finally we want to select the color 23, 1, 3, 3, and the hitbox as well. Can't forget about the hitbox, 1, 3, 3, like that. And now, yeah, we can just spawn the one for the bottom over here. Want to select this spawn trigger and put it in there. And this one had the group ID of 133. So we're going to have to go in here and do 133 instead of 125 and delete this one. And also make sure to add those ones, like we said, these ones on 133 as well. And this platform was 132. So we're going to have to give these guys 132 as well. And when we do the spawn trigger, we're going to pass 132 instead of 125, right? Yeah, right? Actually, 132 instead of 1, 2, yeah, like that. So this is how we want it to be. And the last thing we want to do is not forget that we added these guys, those guys. Want to give these guys a group ID of 129 as well, just like the block that they are on. And now you guys will see that we are done with adding the movements to these guys, and this looks just so much better. It just looks a lot cleaner. And yeah, that is looking beautiful so far. So it's time to add more stuff. We want to spice this up even more. So I'm thinking of adding a background particle, which is basically just going to send some stuff down. So we're going to select the star, we're going to go to motion, and I'm going to add some gravity to the left and to the bottom. And we're going to make the speed at 0. Or if you want, you can make the speed at that, but make sure to change the angle to here. And actually that looks a bit better, so I'm going to do that instead. And we're going to do a large pulse bar, and we're going to do this one a bit bigger and a bit of variations for the size as well. And the end size could also vary a bit like that. And now you guys will see that we have falling stars, but they are not lasting that long. So make sure you make the lifetime a bit more. And now we have falling stars. However, they are a bit too fast. So I'm just going to change the gravity to something a bit cleaner like that, so that it kind of fall down very slowly. Change the speed as well to something lower. Maybe this one should be 11 and this one should be 11. And if we do this at 3, maybe a bit more lifetime randomness like that. This way the particles will just flow down like so. And the lifetime should be a bit more, so maybe 7 even. Maybe a bit more particles, give it more randomness for the lifetime. And right like that, this looks very nice. Now the particles are just flying over here, which, yeah, this looks pretty nice. So what I want to do here is the color is already nice, but I want them to kind of rotate slightly. So I'm going to give them a start spin is equal to end spin. So they're going to have a random start rotation. And from there, they're going to just take a 180 degrees random rotation from there. They kind of have this cool small rotation around them. Maybe even go crazier, like maybe, I don't know, 500, not 5,000 like that. So 500 now they rotate a lot, which just looks clean. I feel like the max size is a bit too much, so maybe something like so would look pretty cool. And we're going to make them fade away at the end as well, so that it doesn't look too bad. And now if we start, you guys are going to see that we have created ourselves some cool particles that are just coming from the top. We're just going to have to select the particle again. Where is it? Okay, now we're going to lose the particle. There it is. So we want to make it on quick start so that it starts instantly and you can see the particles everywhere already before anything else. So yeah, so now if you guys start, you guys will see that the things are already standing there, which is, yeah, that's just very beautiful. And maybe I could make these kind of yellow, but I'm not too sure. Let me see how that would look like. So like that. Actually, yellow kind of looks nice. I might use yellow. And to make them random between yellow and white, you can just do this, which basically assigns a random value for blue between 0 and 1. And this way, some of them could be white and some of them could be yellow. And just like that, we have some of them that are bright yellow, kind of like that. Looks pretty nice. And I want to try to make this a different grouping. So I'm going to make this follow the player. So 1, 3, 4. So 1, 3, 4, we want to move 1, 3, or with the player. So this is locking the object with the player's movement, and we want to do this forever because we don't want this to stop anytime soon. So we want to add -1, and -1 basically makes it do that movement forever, which means that now the particles are following like so. However, it doesn't look that good because the particles kind of are just grouped together. So we want to unlink them by going to relative, and now you guys will see that the particles will actually just flow as they are. So their position is not going to change that much. So yeah, you guys saw what happened, and the particles are still following you, which just looks phenomenal. Looks very, very cool. And I want to try and make this a free to see how that's going to look. Let's see how is that going to look. Okay, so free doesn't really make that much sense either, even though, yeah, it doesn't really make that much sense. So relative, I guess, is the one that would work the most. And I'm going to add a bit more particles just so that we have more stars. And maybe this one can go to 170 and a bit more Y variation as well, just for more randomness, right? And now if we start, okay, that's a bit too many particles, I kind of feel like. Right? Yeah, I feel like this is a bit too many. So where's that particle? I keep messing it up. So like that. This was a bit too much. So let's do 116. Just a value that would basically look cool. And we're gonna move it a bit to the right so that you can actually see the stars. And this just looks so much. Just looks adds a lot to the atmosphere. It's pretty cool. So now we want to stop this one. We want to go 135. And we're going to stop it right here. So 135, so that the particle doesn't move along with us to the robot section, because we only want these guys to be available or visible in the heaven part, right? And this is very nice. Now the robot section does not have those particles, which is perfect. I'm actually kind of excited to add effects to that part, but for now we're gonna keep spicing it up over here as well. All right, and another effect I had is kind of having like fire going from behind. So I added this specific fire and I copied and pasted it a few times, and I made them all very big. So we want to select those specific guys, and I made them very big like so. And then I gave them the animate on trigger. So over here in the edit special, you can make it animate on trigger so that they don't animate until you tell them to animate. And then I gave them the colors of 40 and a blending 5, a blending black. This way we only see the outline of them, and we're gonna spawn them. We're gonna animate them every time we have a pulse. So I added an animate trigger over here. We copied the values from this one and pasted the state over here, and we, using this animate trigger, we animated 40. And now we of course gave those guys the group ID of 40, and as you guys can see, now we have a kind of fiery going like that every time the beat hits, which honestly looks pretty cool, I must say. So now what we're gonna do is we're actually just gonna copy and paste those guys throughout the whole part so that they just keep, existing over here until there. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna move them a bit down and make them align X so that they have the same distance between them. And with that, we have a cool effect in the background, which, yeah, always a why not, right? So now I kind of want to just add some random elements that are kind of like very light yellow like that. And I want to make it rotate slightly like so, and have a very low opacity like that. I'm just going to copy and paste this just randomly across this whole part, just to add a bit more life to it, right? Want to have more stuff going on instead of having nothing going on. It's always better like that, and this looks a lot cleaner. And the background is still a bit empty, so we're gonna have to add a custom background as well. The first thing we want to do to add a custom background is we're gonna choose a block that would basically fit this part. So what block could fit this part? This is a very heavenly, so I kind of feel like this one, if you make it really large, and this could fit a lot because it's just, you guys can see that it just looks very nice. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna make these guys on really large, and then we're simply gonna have like a very large pillar like so. And we're gonna give them we need a group ID, but not right now. So I give them the colors of 47, which looks like that, and then 48, which looks like that. And this way they have this cool shading, which looks awesome. And now we want to add a gradient trigger. So add a gradient trigger like so. Give it the colors of 49, which looks like that, and the HSV, which looks like that, and then color 50, which looks like that, and the HSV, which is very bright and has a bit of hue. And we're going to make this, of course, give it a new ID as well, make it additive and put it on B5. Those guys are, of course, on B5 as well. And now this just looks a lot cleaner. And now we're just going to go ahead and add those guys randomly over here. And we're going to give them a new layer so that we don't have any issues with organizing. And we're going to just copy and paste them over there like so. Maybe one more over here like that. It's random distance. And we're going to move them like so, I think would be pretty good. And we're going to give them 1, 3, 6. And to move them kind of with the player, we're going to do 1, 3, 6. And we're going to lock the X, but we're going to give it a modifier of 1, 0 point something. And we're going to make this forever as well. And now if we start, you guys are going to see that they are going to kind of follow the player, but not really, but kind of also, yeah, I don't really know. But the gradient, of course, we're going to have to do prior to all of this. And we want to copy color 50, and we're actually going to make color 50 black so that from here we can change color 50 to whatever it was. And now slowly you guys can see that it comes to life. And this way, instead of having a sharp cut, we have a much smoother looking thing. And yeah, this is starting to look great already. You could do 1, 3, 6 and make them kind of low opacity if you want to. And I think I'm actually going to do that because they kind of look like in the background, which is exactly what we want. I'm going to move this just far in the back so that you can see them changing the color. And we're going to make 1, 3, 6 already be happening before you even come close to that part. So that it looks exactly like that. So 3 pillars and actually 4 pillars. If we move everything like that, we can have full 4 pillars, and then we can remove the 5th one. So this is how it's going to look like. So the first pillar, the second pillar, and the third pillar, fourth, yeah, like that. It's nice. All right, this part is looking really nice so far. So we're just gonna, I think this is it for this part, or is there anything else I want to add? Actually, let's spice this up even more. And what I want to do is I want to add another custom background, but this one's going to look a lot cooler. So we're going to take the hexagon object, and what we're going to do is we're going to copy and paste it and kind of make like a hexagon background. And I'm going to do that by having a perfect, what is it called? Like a distance between all of them. And just keep doing that until you have a very massive one, and then scale everything like that. And then you guys can see this looks very, very nice. And once you have something like this, make sure to give them a new color channel and then make it very low like that. And then what we want to do is we want them to kind of fade. We want to have like a nice little fade, and we're going to do that using the area fade trigger. So just like we said, we want to give all of these a group ID of 137, and then we want to add just any random object you want. I'm going to go with this line, and we're going to give it a group ID of 138. And then you're going to add a area fade over here, and then you're going to make 137, and the center is 138. Give it this one and make the length 75, the offset -1, and the opacity from 1 to 0. And now if we start, you guys are going to see that the background is kind of like fading away, which looks awesome. I'm going to add a lot of more length to it, so this way we have a much cleaner looking background, and this looks phenomenal. Looks really, really, really cool. So we're going to do this, and then we're simply just going to copy and paste it throughout the whole level. Just make sure we have the right distance over here like that. And what we're going to do in this part is we're simply going to do again, of course, copy and paste like that. Just place them perfectly like that. And then I'm simply going to make this fade away by going that and then going 0.7 for you. You go 0.6 and you go 0.48 and you go 0.28 and you go 0.16 and you go 0.06. So this way it has like a very nice fade at the end. And now if we start, you guys are going to see that this part looks really, really, really cool. It has like a hexagon background, which looks phenomenal. And what we want to do now is we want to copy the same things that we did over there, and we're simply going to copy them to here because we added like the fading and everything. And we want to have that in here as well at the beginning so that we don't have a sharp cut. We want to make everything smooth like that. Exactly. Nice. So I'm going to get rid of this start position so that I can actually see how the level is going to look like if you come from the ship, with all the camera settings being like they are going to be in the final level. And I kind of like this part, honestly. I kind of like this part. This part is looking pretty good. So now it kind of switches to this blue, and it looks absolutely phenomenal. I absolutely love this. This is pretty cool. Oh, what I saw here is that these guys have, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give these guys a new group ID of 139, and we're going to pulse them to, so group 139, we want to pulse it to kind of like a purple-ish, which I think would look pretty cool, as you guys can see, like that. And we're going to, of course, add this pulse to our list in here. And like that, we have a, yeah, this looks a lot better now. I kind of feel like this looks pretty cool. And with that, we have a, yeah, this is looking pretty cool. All right, we're doing some excellent progress. However, you guys can see that we have some weird layering with these guys. So I'm just going to select all of them and kind of make sure that they are in the far back. This way they don't interfere with anything. So we're going to give this gradient that we added for the pillars or for the background, we're going to give it a base color of 5. And we're going to get rid of all of this just so that it has a much smoother way of coming into this part like that. Just looks a lot cleaner. And yeah, I'm kind of falling in love with this all. This is starting to look pretty cool. And if we get to here, you guys will see that these guys for some reason are still playing, and I believe this is a bug from Geometry Dash where some objects just start animating even though you told them not to. So all of these guys are on animate on trigger, and we're only going to animate them in here. Alright, so let's actually give it a try in here, because we're actually done adding effects to our bowl part as well as the ship part, and this is looking phenomenal so far. I absolutely love the way this why are the fires already doing stuff? I don't know, this is kind of weird. Okay, so a solution to do is to simply hide the fire bowls and then kind of make them fade in here like that. So this way they are definitely not on the screen, no matter what they do. No matter what the game tries to bug out, we're just not going to allow that to happen. So now you guys can see that, yeah, the fire, there's no more fire. And this is very cool. I love this part. This part is pretty cool. All right, and now in here, we have entered the robot section. So that is awesome. And that's it for this episode. In the next episode, we're going to add a lot of excellent stuff to the robot part.